You're listening to the weekly Parsha Podcast with Ari Goldwag, recorded with Hashem's never-ending assistance in 5779, 2018. This week's Parsha is Parsha's Vayelech, and the Parsha is all of 30 psukim, I believe. However, there are some amazing, deep, and fundamental concepts in our Parsha that I'd like to share with you, and obviously, it's not a coincidence that we read these Parshas during the time of Rosh Hashanah. This is very much has to do with what's going on now, getting ready for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Lasar Simei Tshuva, and I'd like to read to you some psukim. So, Moshe Rabbeinu, we're at the end of the Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu is getting ready to pass from this world, and he is giving over the mantle of leadership to Yehoshua. This is in chapter 31, verse 14. The verse tells us, Vayimar shel Moshe, Hein karbu yamecha lamus. God says to Moses, your time has come to pass on from the world. Kras Yehoshua v'yisyatzu b'ohel moed v'atzavenu. I want you to call to Joshua. I want you to come with him to Ohel Moed. I want you to stand in the Mishkan, in the tent of meeting. V'atzavenu, I want to command him. Vayelech Moshe v'Yehoshua v'yisyatzu b'ohel moed. So they come together and they stand in the Ohel Moed, in the tent of meeting. Verse 15. Vayira Hashem ba'oil ba'amud anon. God appears, as he always does in those times. God appears. It's possible to see and recognize that God is there because they were able to see a special cloud that would come. Vayamad amud ha'anon al pesach ha'oil. The amud ha'anon, the cloud stood at the entrance of the tent. Vayamar Hashem Moshe in chashech chayiv v'marisecha. God says to Moses, you are going to pass on, you're going to sleep with your fathers. God gives a warning. God, got to be honest about the way things are. God gives a warning to the Jewish people that what's going to happen in the future is that he gives a warning to Yehoshua as the leader of the Jewish people. What's going to happen is the Jewish people are going to go after the nations of the world. They're going to follow after the Avodah Zarah, the idolatry of the world. They will leave me, and they will nullify the bris that I have made with them. And I will get angry at them in that time. So Hashem gives a warning. Hashem makes it very clear what's going to happen. The way of the Jewish people it's amazing. Jewish people, we've been around for 3,800 years. Some things just don't change. We're stiff-necked people. We follow after the ways of the nations that we find ourselves surrounded by. It's very interesting. So God says that Hashem is going to turn away from the Jewish people for a time. It's going to seem like God is not with us. They will be consumed by the nations. The Jewish people will experience challenges and difficulties. And amazingly, God testifies about the Jewish people that despite the fact that we indeed turn away from him, despite the fact that this is what goes on, nevertheless, we say on that day, the Jewish people will still recognize at all times, we will recognize the fact that the things that are happening to us, the negative things that are going on in our lives, are because of the fact that God is not with me. That's why these evil things have befallen us. So it's an amazing testimony. God is giving a testimony about the Jewish people that no matter what, yes, we will turn away, but no matter what, we will recognize that the reason that things are going wrong in our lives, the reason that things are difficult, is because God has forsaken us, but it's because we have forsaken him. And I will hide my face because of all of the evil that they've done, because they turned to other gods. Verse 19, all of these psukim are really important to the point that I want to bring out, which is why I'm reading them all. Amazing thing. Now I want you to write this song. God says, I want you to write this song, which is a reference to the song of Hazinu, which is in next week's Parsha. They need to learn the song. They need to learn the song. And the song is all about the covenant. It's about God's pact with the Jewish people. That no matter what, that even though they are going to go off the path, even though they are going to follow after the gods of the other nations. But they will return. God will always have this covenant with them. God never will give up the Jewish people. God will never break his covenant with the Jewish people. 3,800 years later, we're still here. But it's very interesting. We need to write these psukim. We need to write this song. There's a song here. You need to understand the concept of the song. Teach it to the Jewish people. Put it in their mouths. They need to learn this song. Verse tells us that what's the point of the song? It's very unusual. Usually we think of a song as something perhaps, like a song like Yesh Tikva. It's a song that gives us hope. A song like Lo Nafsik L'Irkod, We Won't Stop Dancing, Am Echad, Jewish Unity. Right? There's lots of different songs. But here's a song, God says, which is the song of the Torah. And the song is to be a witness, le'aid, to the Jewish people. The song itself is a witness. And what is the idea of a song? Generally, what's the concept of a song? What is the idea here in this context of a song being a witness for the Jewish people? And there's another very interesting point. In looking around at the Meforshim here, the Ramban says something which I don't believe I've ever seen before. But he says like this. I want to read it to you inside. He tells us that the song we're speaking about here is the song of Hazinu. Vikara Shira. It's referred to as a song. Why? The Torah, and specifically these psukim, the psukim of Hazinu, which we're going to read next week, it's a song that the Jewish people will sing. It's also written as a song. What is the idea that it's written as a song? Explains the Ramban. If you look in the Torah, in the place where Hazinu is written, so you see there's a few words, a few words, and then there's a space, a few more words and a space, a few more words and a space, just like we see by Oz Yashir, which is the song of at the sea the Jewish people sang. What is the idea of the song and the space, explains the Ramban, and we need to understand the idea behind it. Ramban says that the idea behind the song and the space is because that's where they would sing. There would be a tune. It would be like this, okay? Right? Those are the words of the song. Right? So that they would sing that part, whatever the tune was, and then they would have a melody. They would just sing, they would intone a melody in between. Na 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 na, whatever it would be. It's very interesting. What is the idea of this tune that they would have in between the verses? What was the idea? There would be just a melody. What's the concept of that? I'm trying to understand that. Okay, so, and I also want to point out here that it's very interesting that the Torah is giving us a bris. It's giving us a covenant. It's speaking about the fact that the Jewish people have a certain ofi. They have a certain character. They have a certain way of being. And I want to read a few more psukim because it's just really profound. When I will bring the Jewish people to the land that I promised to their forefathers, a land flowing with milk and honey. What's going to happen? The Jewish people are going to eat, they're going to get full, and they're going to get fat. Like we said before, they're going to turn to other gods, they're going to serve them, and they will provoke me. They will nullify my covenant. Verse 21. Many difficult things are going to befall the Jewish people. The song comes back. The song returns. They will remember the song. The song will remind them. Now there's two parts to what the song reminds us. The song reminds us about the bris. It reminds us about our covenant. It reminds us that we are a stiff-necked people. It reminds us that we are people who turn away from God. But it also reminds us that the Torah will not be forgotten from our offspring. That will still be here 3,800 years later. God says, I know their nature. That they do today. Before they even get there, before they even get to the land of Israel, God says, I know who they are. I know who these Jewish people are. I know their nature, and I know that there are two parts of the nature. That's the amazing thing that I want to bring out. I think is really essential here to understand. There's two parts to the nature of the Jewish people. One is that we are stiff-necked people and that we run away from God. And the other is that we are stiff-necked people and we run back to God. We don't forget. We never forget the song. When we think about a song, like what is the idea of a song? A song can take you back, right? A song takes you back. There was that song that you had playing in the car on that family trip, and you hit all that crazy weather, and you had a crazy time, good times, crazy times, and whenever you hear that song returns you back to that place, that time. Could be the trip happened 30 years ago, but you hear that song that was playing in the car at that time, the song brings you back. And the way I was thinking about it is like, this is the song. Klal Yisrael is standing under the chuppah. Klal Yisrael is standing at the threshold of getting into Eretz Yisrael, and there's this song playing, and it goes like this: Hazinu hashamayim v'adabeiro, v'sishma haaretz imrefi, na 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 na. Okay, and that's the song that we sing when we're in that amazing relationship with God. Where God takes us, where we're walking through the desert for those 40 years, and God, we're underneath the kanfei hashchina, the wings of God, and we're singing this song as we go along. And then we come into Israel and we get fat and we think it's all about us and we think that we're the ones doing it. That's what the Torah says. But that song comes back, and sometimes the song is a happy song, and sometimes the song is a sad song. It's the same song, but it reminds us. The song reminds us, and we never forget the song. Klal Yisrael never forgets the song. It's the Torah. The Torah is that song, and it's a reminder. It's for us there's two parts, like we said. There's two parts. It's a reminder of our nature. It's a recognition of who we are and why God chose us. I once heard from a Rosh Hashiva that we're a stiff-necked people, and God chose us because we're stiff-necked. Because in order to last this long, to still exist after so many thousands of years, we need to be stiff-necked. So sometimes the stiff-necked nature, it doesn't serve us so well because, we rebel against God. We turn away from God. But that same, like I said before, that same stiff-necked nature is what brings us back to God, because we never forget this song. And so Hashem calls Moshe and Hashem calls Yehoshua, and he has them stand at the entrance to the Ohel Moed, and he teaches them the song, and he has them teach the song to the Jewish people, because it's this commitment. It's the commitment that God makes to us, and it's the commitment that we make to God, that we're going to keep singing the song. And that commitment between God and us means that there's always going to be leaders. There's always going to be those who are going to help us in our commitment to God. There's going to be a Moshe Rabbeinu. There's going to be Yehoshua. There's going to be Shivim Zakenim, the 70 elders. There's going to be, throughout the generations, there's going to be people who are going to lead the Jewish people and guide us and help us, lead us back to the song, lead us back to the Torah, lead us back to what we know is true. And no matter how far we are, no matter where we are, that's always inside of us. It's always inside of us. We spoke about last week about Hashem that in the Messianic age, when Mashiach comes, so Hashem returns us to Him, and it's possible to access that right now. We don't have to wait for the Messianic age to hear the song. Yes, we're going to sing a new song when the Messiah arrives, but we're still singing this old song, which reminds us of who we are, and this is also really the concept of the shofar. We find that when it comes to the description, the Gemara gives a description of the shofar. The Gemara tells us that on Rosh Hashanah we say, Malchus Zichronis v'Shofars, we speak about God as a king. We ask God to remember the avos, the good deeds of the forefathers, of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Noach. And how does it get up there? The Gemara says the way that it gets up there is through the shofar. The shofar transports our prayers and brings them up in front of the divine throne, in front of God's divine throne. The sound of the shofar is a song. The sound of the shofar is an amazing, powerful song. The power of the shofar is that it transports us to that place, to the Kisei HaKavod in front of God. It transports us to a place which is beyond time. It's timeless. A song is timeless. The song of the Torah is timeless. When we sing the song of the Torah, when we hear Azinu Hashamayim, when we hear the words of the Torah, we hear the depth. There's a reason that the Jewish people are still here. It's because we've kept on listening to the song of the Torah. It's because we keep returning to that song and singing that song. And it's only possible for us to remain because we connect ourselves to something which is timeless, to something which is eternal. And that is eternal life. God says to us, I placed before you, this is in last week's Parsha, life and death. We have a choice every day. Do we choose to veer away from the song? Do we choose to veer away from the covenant of God? Or do we choose to remember the song? Do we choose to sing the song? And the Torah is inviting us. The Torah, Hashem invites the leaders of the Jewish people in order to really invite all of us to sing this song, to write down the song, to teach it to the Jewish people, to remember it. It should always remain in their mouths. So I want to bless you. And I ask you to bless me. Hashem should help us. We should be able to remember the song, to hear the song. And sometimes, before I get to the blessing, I didn't answer the question. The Ramban talks about the fact that sometimes the song has words. And sometimes it's just a niggin, it's just a tune. Sometimes we can't hear it. Sometimes we're so clogged. Our neshamas, our souls are so clogged up. It's so hard for us to be able to listen to what God has to say. We can't even read the words. We can't even listen to what the Torah says. But we can hear the tune. There's a space between the words. Because sometimes when we hear the words of the song, we can't hear the words of the song. We're not ready to hear the words of the song. But there's a space in between the words. And that space is where the tune plays, where the song plays. And although we're not ready to hear the words of the song, sometimes the tune itself moves us and opens our hearts. So again, I want to bless you. I ask you to bless me. Hashem should help us. We should hear the song. We should listen to the song. Whether it's because we can hear the words of the song, or whether it's we're only able to hear the melody of the song. But Hashem should help us to be able to hear that song, to be committed, to remember the commitment which our souls made at Mount Sinai as we were entering, 40 years later, as we were entering into the land of Israel. Hashem should help us to remember that commitment, remember that song. Hashem should give us a ksiva, chasima, teva, gemar, chasima, teva. Thank you so much for listening. A wonderful Shabbos.